Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to be with you here at the 2025 Berlinale. Maybe you could begin with an introduction to your film, to Yalla Parkour, for people who haven't seen it yet. What can they expect when they come to watch it?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your interest in the film. So, Yalla Parkour explores many themes, but our major theme revolves around belonging. That's why I was interested in connecting with the group in Gaza. As a Palestinian, I always question. I have many questions about my identity. Am I a true Palestinian? I feel sometimes as an intruder, somebody who always looks from the outside and says, I'm a Palestinian. How true is that? And this was mainly the predominant theme of the film. But then there is also the element of parkour, which is all about shattering obstacles. You know, it's the sport of jumping obstacles. Sometimes it's called free running, and Gaza is really an amazing context for such a sport. It's as if it's challenging what Gaza is about currently. So which is like the obstacles and the lack of freedom. These are the themes that you're gonna explore when you watch the film. I'm not gonna say more, so as not to spoil it.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, even beyond the current context, I think, even going back some years, any kind of portrayal of Gaza or the situation in that part of the world, sometimes necessarily so, will be about, how dire the situation is, very much focusing more kind of like on a news angle. This feels like a totally different way to sort of access stories and discussions about being from that place. So was it important to you to kind of, the parkour as a way in to make this something quite joyful, in fact?
100%. I mean, one of my goals was to let the audience live. What does it mean to be somebody who's living and trapped in Gaza? Somebody with hopes, with dreams, but that can't go outside, and who finds the tool to speak to the outside world is through filming themselves doing parkour, So yes, it was intentional. The situation in Gaza, it was better than it is now for sure, but it was so bad.
And maybe you can talk about how your collaboration first came about, and what was the first moment you realized that Ahmed was going to be the center of your film?
So it was in 2014 when there was a huge offensive happening against Gaza. It was a 50-plus day offensive. I felt miserable. I was just bringing my daughter to the world. She was 1 month old, and all the death and destruction. And I felt hopeless. And one time I was surfing for news through the internet, and video pops up of a group of parkour players flipping against a humongous colossal bombing in the background, laughing, and it's as if it's all a bad joke, I felt I needed to connect with them. They took me back to the summers when my mom used to take us to Nablus every summer, and sometimes it would be the Intifada and everybody will be at the terrace laughing. And so I felt this Palestinian spirit, and I thought I need to do this to communicate with them at least. So I started a conversation on Facebook back then. It was through Messenger. And Ahmed was the person who was receiving the messages and replying to them. That's where the story started.
When she first approached you, what was your first thought? And why were you so excited to be part of this film?
I mean, we used there used to be many journalists who come to Gaza and make documentaries or like short documentaries about the team and about what we do. Also like TV reports, and I thought that Areeb was one of these people at the beginning. That she also wanted to make a documentary or like interview and publish it on one of the TVs. And but when I started to talk to Areeb, I knew it's something else. She just wanted to know more about us also, and she's one of us. She's also Palestinian, and for me, meeting or talking to someone Palestinian who have the same nationality as me affects me more, and I feel like I also want to talk more to this person and to know more about this person. it's something in us, because we are in Gaza, we don't usually meet other people, and we are not allowed or able to travel outside of Gaza or meet people from the West Bank or meet people from the outside world as well. So for me, it felt special, and yeah, for sure, I was happily sharing with Areeb our stories, our what we do in Gaza, and sharing with her videos of how Gaza looking like.
I think coming to sort of the images that we see actually in the film, you know, kind of a cemetery, an abandoned mall, the remains of an airport. How do you think some of that also, in the way that there's this contrast, I guess, between something that's joyful and there's a lot of movement, also some of these spaces you could see as also signifying some kind of loss or transformation. So maybe we can talk a bit about the things that you wanted to include in the film.
I mean, it's all thanks to Ahmed. It brought memories. Some of the things, I'm sure my mom was calling me and telling me, come look at the destruction that's happening. For example, the airport was one of them. The ruins, I mean, the idea in of itself that there was an airport in Gaza is fascinating, and that people are trapped and are not allowed to travel. And just imagine Gaza, a free place where you can go and come back. And it was like when he told me about the airport, and I remembered that moment when my mom called me to watch it get distracted on TV. It was one of the moments that, okay, they're challenging and jumping and trying to search for freedom through parkour, but there is also the reality. There is also the destruction. There is also the deprivation of freedom that's still there, despite of you trying to challenge it day and night. Another fascinating moment for me was Qal'at Barqouq, when he told me that people have turned it into a clothes line. I laughed at it, but then when he told me it's just because nobody comes and visits, why? I mean, it's not a touristic site anymore. Okay, it became more of a dark humor, you know, for me. There are these dark moments. They're there, but the people, you can sense the sense of joy is always overcomes the misery. They make fun of whatever situation they're put in.
And obviously we see your journey through the film, you know, ending up in Sweden, etc., etc. What has it meant to you to see your story told? Did it bring up in you some complicated feelings, perhaps, about how you feel about having left your home? What has it meant to you? I guess there's some like amazing parts of it, but maybe it's tinged with sadness too.
I mean, my story is similar to many of the Palestinians who lives in Gaza's stories. Like we share the same life, we share the same dreams. That we have dreams. We have stories, and my story is similar to anyone of Gaza, and that's why I felt like it's important to also share it with the people. And I was happy to tell my story for the people so they know what's happening in Gaza. And at the same time, like, yeah, being away from the family is something that is many people are like facing. Like Areeb were not able to visit Gaza or to visit almost her family in Nablus because of the difficulties she have to go through with the check-in and all these checkpoints in the West Bank. So it's yeah, something important to share with the people, and I feel like this is a story of the Palestinians, not just about me.
Thinking about the impact of a film like this, being able to show it here at the Berlinale, what do you hope people will take away? Because of course it was made pre-October 7th, maybe it throws it into new context. It's in a strange way maybe a capsule of time, you know, that preceded the current events. So there's, as we said, some joy, some hope, these, you know, this feeling of resilience, but also perhaps brings to people's minds that a lot of these things are going to only become more complicated in the current context. You know, that loss of home or that loss of identity, you know, is even more exacerbated now.
I think the identity is a question. It's a solid question. We were laughing about it with another journalist now whose daughter is from Egypt, and he was telling me that they haven't been, and he was telling me she will know that she's from Egypt. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's something that we like as Palestinians, for example, as somebody from that region. You can't but tell the stories of deprivation that we went through, the stories of loss that we went through. I took it from my parents. I share my story with my kids. Ahmed took it from his own life. He will share it with his kids. The identity thing, it's something that's going to survive. What I would love for people to take away from the film, it varies from, it depends on the person who's receiving too. For me, it's important, as I said, the overarching theme is belonging, and I spoke a lot about identity and what it means for me to be Palestinian. But also there is the part that talks about Gaza before the recent events. Like if you take a look at the film and how Gaza used to be, it's not a livable place, and now even more. So it's important for me to realize that before October 7th, also Gaza was not a livable place, and the people were put in a very inhuman condition.
And just very quickly, finally, do you have hope for the future? What's your current feeling?
Not really. I mean, I used to be hopeful, so I used to be very hopeful, but then every time you see things deteriorating, so maybe stop being hopeful is the solution. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank you.
Huge congratulations on the film, and really enjoy presenting it here in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you so much.